All right. So as I said, I think Bernie Sanders actually is the one who lost the debate, even though it was a disaster for Bloomberg as well. Here's the moment where Sanders lost it, right here.
The question was about socialism.
What a wonderful country we have. The best-known socialist in the country happens to be a millionaire with 3 houses. What I miss here?
Well, you'll miss that I work in Washington, House 1.
That's the first problem.
Live in Burlington, House 2.
That's good.
And like thousands of other Vermonters, I do have a summer camp. Forgive me for that. Where is your home? Which tax haven do you have your home?
New York City, thank you very much, and I pay all my taxes.
Now, first of all, it's pretty amazing that Sanders has done so many of these debates, and this is the first time to my memory that anyone has hit him for being a communist with $1 million in the bank and 3 houses. Now, he gets hit for that all the time among conservatives on Fox News and on Twitter and everything, but to his face at a debate is the first time I can think of that someone has brought that up. And the guy who finally attacked him for it has about 20 houses himself, at a minimum. So it took a billionaire to point out that the socialist who hates rich people is a rich person himself. But here's the significance of this moment. Remember, everybody in the debate, everybody on stage, landing punches on Bloomberg, left and right, taking turns at the piñata. No blindfold, right? Just a metal bat and the piñata, and they're whacking it, and there's Tootsie Rolls and Jolly Ranchers flying all over the place. But then it's Bernie's turn at the piñata, and instead, the piñata grabs the bat out of his hand and whacks him. He got beat by the piñata. Bernie was the only one on the stage who got whacked by Bloomberg. He was the only one that Bloomberg was able to land a blow on. And if I'm a Bernie fan, that makes me pretty uncomfortable. That my candidate is so vulnerable and susceptible that Michael Bloomberg was able to have a moment like that. Now, why did the attack work from Bloomberg? Why was Sanders the one guy that even Bloomberg, with his total lack of charisma and personality, was able to nail? Because Sanders is an extraordinarily weak candidate whose hypocrisy and inconsistency is hanging there in the open, just waiting to be used against him. He's a millionaire socialist. That's all you need to say. And again, Bloomberg's the first guy to bring this up in a debate. You think Donald Trump will be shy about bringing that up? I would predict that's going to be one of the only things. That's just going to be the refrain over and over. We're going to keep going back to that. And consider how weak Bernie's rejoinder was. Speaking of being unprepared for a really obvious line of attack, now at least in Bernie's case, he was unprepared because no one's brought it up before. But he explains the 3 homes by calling his $600,000 vacation home a summer camp. Now, Bernie, I've been camping, okay? That ain't camping. That's not any kind of camping I've ever heard of. A $600,000 lakefront vacation home, which is your 3rd home, that's not camping. So Bernie didn't do himself any favors there, and he didn't do himself any favors here either. Watch.
Mayor Bloomberg, you own a large company. Would you support what Senator Sanders is proposing?
Absolutely not. I can't think of ways that would make it easier for Donald Trump to get reelected than listening to this conversation. It's ridiculous. We're not going to throw out capitalism. We tried that. Other countries tried that. It was called communism, and it just didn't work.
That was very telling, that moment there. It was a small moment. I don't know. It seems like people missed it, but Bloomberg mentions communism in a negative light. He besmirches the name of communism, and Bernie and Warren get very upset. They start raising, whoa, did you hear that? That was actually Warren's reaction. Whoa, hey, come on, leave communism out of this. Communism never hurt anybody except for 100 million people that it killed. Never hurt anyone except for those. Last thing from the debate that I want to mention is this moment from Bernie Sanders.
If speaking to the needs and the pain of a long-neglected working class is polarizing, I think you got the wrong word. What we are trying finally to do is to give a voice to people who who after 45 years of work are not making a nickel more than they did 45 years ago. We are giving a voice to people who are saying we are sick and tired of billionaires like Mr. Bloomberg seeing huge expansions of their wealth while 500,000 people sleep out on the street tonight. And that's so what we are saying, Pete, is maybe it's a time for the working class of this country to have a little bit of power in Washington rather than your billionaire campaign contributors.
Did you catch that? Bernie says there are people who've been working for 45 years and don't make a nickel more today than they did 45 years ago. Who? What? Who exactly? I'm going to need some specific examples. I'm going to need you to provide specific examples of people who have been. Find me any adult. Find me one adult in this country who's been working for 45 years, for half a century, and is still making the same amount today that he made that this person made 50 years ago. Can you find me just one example of somebody in that camp? Now, even if I'm generous and I allow for the possibility that Bernie meant that they don't make a nickel more than they did 45 years ago when adjusted for inflation, that would still be BS. Because a person who made $5 an hour in 1975, 45 years ago, would make $24 an hour today, adjusted for inflation. So you're telling me there are people who've worked jobs all that time for half a century, and all they've gotten is inflation-adjusted raises? No actual real raises in 45 years? But this is what Democrats do. Thank you for tuning in to the Daily Wire, one of the fastest growing conservative outlets in the entire country. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and then subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of our content.